Yeah, that's the view you're going to get. Sorry. Seasonal analysis. Yes, SALT seasonal analysis. There's the low tech. Going to go over the 2016 season in brief. We'll try to keep it brief. I want to say two things about the 2016 season. One, parity. Parity has to be mentioned. And let me explain. We are at a point in the NFL where of the 32 teams, there is one that stands out. New England. That's it. One. You could group then 29 others in the same grouping. And what I mean by that is we've never been at a point in the NFL where the 29 teams in the middle are as close as they've ever been, close as they are now. Meaning the difference between the number 2 team and the number 30 team has never been closer. Certainly, there's not that much difference between middle teams. I'm not here to say that somebody played as well as Atlanta. Atlanta obviously played great ball this year and deserved to be in the Super Bowl. But what I'm saying is that parity rules in the NFL. Let's go through the teams and explain. You'll see there's not much difference between all the middle teams for sure, and even the top teams and lower teams. The talent is not that much different. I don't mean any given Sunday they could beat them. I don't mean, well, next year they could end up being 12-4 because they could change. They could have been 12-4 or 10-6 this year with the talent that they have. Even bottom teams could have been that. Just with minor, little injury issues or defensive coordinator, offensive coaching issues that, they had a new coach or this coach didn't work out. With one little change of coaching, a little change of injuries, or a little change of luck on a bounce here and there, and we could have had a whole different set of playoff teams than we had. Let's go through it instead of talking without any specifics. Let's get some specific analysis and SALT going here. Let's start with the teams that were great last year, and suddenly, where were they this year? Denver. Denver very easily could have been in the Super Bowl. Forget about it, in the playoffs. I mean, Simeon did not perform any worse than Peyton Manning performed last year. You want to tell me Peyton Manning had experience and he managed the game better? I don't know. He had a lot of interceptions, Peyton Manning, last year. The defense was solid again. I think not as solid. Plus, you add the fact that Oakland and Kansas City raised their game. They lost a few games by just a few points here and there, and that's the difference. There you go. But Denver easily could have been right there like they were last year. Carolina and Arizona, they were the championship. They played in the championship last year. Carolina, Cam Newton, there's your answer right there. Cam Newton went from being accurate this year to back to being inaccurate this year. And not only inaccurate, but almost even probably more inaccurate than he was in the previous years in the career. He had, you may recall, I do suggest you watch my Salty Pepper Productions. This one's on the Bob, but Salty Pepper Productions, I had Cam, you now are a top 10 quarterback. He put himself in the top 10 after his performance last year, and I'm not just talking about during the regular season, but into the playoffs, all the way till the Super Bowl. Super Bowl was not a good performance for him, but hey, he had raised his game, his accuracy, and combined it with his running, he was a top 10 quarterback. This year, back down to not being, I don't know what happened to his accuracy, won't know. Defense, solid. Maybe not as good because they miss Josh Norman, apparently. Not as dominant, but again, Carolina, my point is, would you be surprised if Carolina went 12-4 next year and Atlanta went down to 8-8? Atlanta was 8-8 last year. Atlanta was 6-10 the year before that, and Matt Ryan is not. Oh, what do you mean? All of a sudden, Matt Ryan found it. Matt Ryan had them in the championship game 3 years ago with a great season. Was winning 17-0 also in that championship game against San Francisco. So what's the difference here? Quinn's got them playing better defense. Yes, we'll talk about that. That's the second thing we are gonna talk about. They are playing better defense, but come on, they could. Would you be surprised? The Herd said this. Would you be surprised if Atlanta was 8-8 next year? No. Would you be surprised if Carolina's back up to 12-4? No. That's my point. The difference between the teams is minimal, or it's less than it's ever been between an 8-8 team and a 12-4 team. Arizona, same thing. Arizona, what happened to Carson Palmer? You want to tell me he wasn't getting protection? Okay. Maybe he's getting old. He's losing it. Maybe the old, offensive line. Maybe the drops. Malcolm Floyd had a case of the drops. A couple of their receivers weren't catching the ball as well, except for Fitzgerald. And this is with the improvement of a David Johnson. Would you be surprised if Arizona went 12-4 next year, 11-5? I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, so that's just a few examples. The Vikings won the division last year. I picked the Vikings to win the Super Bowl this year, and their defense was, again, top. We'll talk about the Vikings soon when I talk about my second point, but the Vikings easily could have been up there in the playoffs and going for a Super Bowl, and the injury, of course, to Bridgewater, but Sam Bradford also could have brought them. Sam Accurate is accurate when you give him time. Now, they had offensive line injuries. They had AP not being able to run the ball, and that made it more tough on Sam Bradford was not good when he doesn't have a clean pocket. He needs that clean pocket. But with that defense that they have, Sam Bradford doesn't throw interceptions, and he's got his accurate on the short ball, and they got a running game going. They easily are right there in the running for a Super Bowl. Again, and we'll get to that idea of defense wins championships on my second point to further elaborate on that. Okay, but let's go through the division. Let's just go through every team. Here we go. AFC East, Jets, Miami, Buffalo. Those three all have talent there. They're all 8-8. Jets in their second, the second or third game of the year where Fitzpatrick was fantastic. I said, wow, they could get to a Super Bowl. And that's no joke. If Fitzpatrick would have played like that, now it's not likely that Fitzpatrick was going to play like that. He had an excellent year last year, except for Game 16. But, you don't expect him to keep it up. He only had 2 good years in his career. Most of his years he's been inaccurate. He's had problems. But after what he did in game was a night game against Buffalo, he was fantastic, and the defense is solid. Dropped off as the year went on, and as they got, they didn't give their. It looks like they somehow Todd Bowles lost their intensity as the year went on. That's saying the least. But the Jets could have been. The Jets have talent to be in the playoffs. Miami wasn't the player, and Miami looked horrible at the beginning. After they should have lost to Cleveland, they would have been 1-5. What was it, 1-4? They got lucky that Cleveland missed a kick there, and Miami won that game in overtime. That's Miami easily could be 5-11, or they could be 11-5 like they ended, and they ended up. Buffalo, still a mystery how Rex Ryan didn't have them playing great defense after Jim Schwartz had them playing great defense 2 years ago. And this is the second year under Rex Ryan's system. How were they not playing? I picked them to win the Super Bowl last year. I'm still surprised they didn't win the Super Bowl last year with the performance that Tyrod Taylor surprised them and gave them on offense, and the amount of talent they had on defense. Of course, New England is the one team that separates themselves. That was the one I was referring to year after year. Top team in the league. Except they're separate. They're a legitimate 11-12 win team. This year somehow got the 14 wins without talent. That's coaching, man. That's coaching Tom Brady and do your job. Okay, we go to the let's go to the Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Baltimore. All have enough talent to be 9-win. They can win 6 wins. They can win 11, depending on how it breaks for them. Baltimore had 1 loss, and they went from being a playoff team to being 8-8. But of course, Cleveland is one of the 2 teams I'm talking about that year after year, they got to get their act together. They're not in the run. They're not there. It's one of 2 bad teams in the league. The other one I'll say right now is the. I'm going to put the. Not the. I'm going to put the. I forgot who the other bad team is. There's one other bad team in this league. All right, we go to Jacksonville. With the talent they had, all of a sudden Bortles went down. Tennessee has shown that they, with their running game and Dick LeBeau defense, they could be anywhere between 6 to 10 wins. Jacksonville, Indianapolis. If Luck is doing his thing now, they don't give him enough time, and the defense is not. They haven't been adding. As they fired their general manager recently for a good reason. They never gave him any defense there. Don't give him an offensive line, but they could easily, with a dominant offense, get to 10 wins. They were in the playoff hunt, and of course, Houston. If they get any quarterback play, they could be in the Super Bowl. If Osweiler would have given them just decent quarterback play. And then that's even without J.J. Watt, they were able to play solid. Imagine with J.J. Watt. We go now to Kansas City. That division, Kansas City, Oakland, San Diego, and Denver all have teams that could. San Diego is the worst of those four, but even they, with Phillip Rivers, they could get to 9 wins, 10 wins. Would you be surprised if any of those 4 teams won the division next year? Maybe a little bit surprising in San Diego, but with Joey Bosa and they let's see what happens in their new place. I've just covered the AFC. I'm going to hold it there because I see I'm running out of time here as far as what I wanted to hold it at. And we will continue our parody as we go through the NFC on our next SALT production.